So back on the old eBay again, and I found this for $60. Does the price seem fair? It depends on what it's worth to you. So this is what I got. This is a Panasonic Cf-53. It's a tough book, 14-inch semi-rugged notebook, and it has a carrying handle, so you could take it with you to school or lunch, out for town, maybe to the old Starbucks. It's supposed to be durable. It's supposed to have that whole tank-like durability design. I don't know. I probably wouldn't try to run over it with my car. It's a 14-inch display, touchscreen, with anti-glare. Pretty nice. This one is the Intel i5 2nd Gen, dual core at 2.5 gigahertz. A little bit weak. 4 gigs of RAM, 320 gig drive, which mine didn't come with the 320 gig drive. Windows 7. And it's supposed to have a 10-hour battery life, but I can tell you right now, I'm getting about 2 hours on it. So for $60 wasn't too bad, but it didn't come with the charger. The chargers are kind of these special, not special, but you can't buy those cheap $10, $15 ones. Although they could be a little suspicious and sketchy, they do tend to get the job done, at least for testing purposes. I actually had to buy the Panasonic one just because the voltage rating and all that rigmarole on it, and this was like $30, so running up to $90 with it. $20 for a solid state drive, $110, and then I think I spent $10 for another 4 gigs of RAM, so $120. So yeah, I get a laptop, but it's only an i5 2nd Gen. But it's a laptop, it's durable, and it's rugged. So let's talk about this laptop, the downfalls, the purpose of it, and see what we do. Now, despite its tank-like durability, it does have a rather sleek design. It's made of magnesium alloy, the chassis is, and the majority lid is covered in this textured material, which I kind of like, silver aluminum finish, but it's only this small piece, and then you have this black top right over here. The interior is actually not too bad looking. The keyboard actually has a very cheap feel to it. It still continues with this black matte plastic. You can tell whoever had it used the mess out of this because it still has the worn on it. You got your speakers on either side. Nice for some stereo and for the tunes. Power button right up here. And it's supposed to come with an attached stylus, but this one didn't come with it. Or maybe it got lost somewhere. I don't know where it would go. I think it would go right over here because there is a provision for it. But we never got that. So, yeah, I guess I would have had to pay an extra $20 for that. Now, one of the big features on it is because it had one of those moving drives, is that the hard drive, and let's see if we can get this out over here. It's supposed to be shock mounted, and if you look at it, it's pretty sturdy in there. It has rubber grommets, and it's kind of annoying to take out because you have to press all these things out, and once you press them all out, it pops out, pop in, and then it has a little cushion in there. So yeah, definitely shock mounted. But we've went ahead and upgraded to a solid state drive. But as you can see, the upgradability over here is quite simple. And then over here, one of them is for your Wi-Fi card, and the other one is for your memory. And we went ahead and just popped in an extra 4 gigs, so we can have 8 gigs of RAM for it. This magnesium alloy is supposed to withstand up to 3 feet of being dropped, so that's pretty good. Spill resistant keyboard on it. It's supposed to withhold up to 6 ounces of fluid. Still want to chance that. And because of the way it's built, it's for like extreme temperatures, hot, cold, ranging from 140 degrees Fahrenheit to -4 degrees Fahrenheit, as well as extreme humidity, so things don't get shorted in there. Now, what was the purpose for this? Law enforcement, fire, EMS, construction workers, pretty much any place where you're going to have extreme environments. Like if you're on a construction job, this is going to take a lot of dust. It's going to take a lot of dirt, abuse. It's going to get dropped on it. Law enforcement, same thing. Extreme hot, extreme colds. And that's what it was built for. But that build cost did come with a price tag. It was released back in 2011 and cost $2,500. And I mean $2,500 for a i5 2nd Gen, which 2011, I guess. And for inflation value, we're looking at $3,000 in today's standard. You're looking at $3,000 for a laptop that's really not meant or designed for gaming or anything like that. Great. Now, as far as like expansion goes, you do have a DVD drive over here. In the back, you have these covers, which have these kind of help with the whole weather protection. You got your serial port back here, HDMI VGA, some more USB, good old Ethernet, your PC card slot. You also got the button for the Wi-Fi, so if the Wi-Fi is ever not working on this, double check that button. Your battery is held over here, and you got some more USB. So that's pretty much it. And of course, your power cord. Other than that, I mean, there's really nothing too much to this laptop besides the fact that it's rugged and it's durable. So now these things, they're selling surplus on eBay for about $200 to $300 if you go with the low end Cf-53 model. I forget all the numbers and rigmaroles that have the i5 2nd gen, to the higher ones that have the i5 4th gen, which you wind up paying more for it. And then they have the ones that people are just kind of throwing away because they didn't address the issues with it. This thing has two common issues, and I have found that most of the time one of them is never addressed and the other time it's just a really fixed. So in this video, we're going to go ahead, we're going to take this thing apart, address one of the issues, and then I'll show you the other common issues, and then I'll give you my whole analysis of whether this is a decent bang for the buck, depending on what you get it for. So now, one of the most common issues with this laptop is overheating. The second one is the touchscreen. Touchscreen's a little easier to fix. Well, it's a lot easier to fix, but the overheating is quite difficult. I will say for $2,500, and considering I guess it's a rugged design, this is the most complex laptop that I've probably ever had to take apart. And the reason why is that to get to the CPU and the cooler, just to get to all that thermal paste and clean it up, you have to take everything apart. I mean, everything. This is a complete total tear down, breakdown just to get into everything. It is quite cumbersome. It is quite annoying, but yeah, that's what you got to do. And it's one of the reasons that people don't address it, because I mean, like I said, this takes a while to do. This is not going to be a complete tear down video on this. I will just come back and talk to you guys about some of the highlights and show you. But if you want a complete guide on how to tear it down, I'll actually put a link to another video that does a complete guide. I mean, their video, they did it in about 40 minutes. I think they compressed it to 40 minutes. So this is pretty intense to take apart, to say the least. So I'm gonna go ahead, start taking it apart. I'll come back and show you some highlights of where we're at and how's it going and my opinions, and then you guys can actually see what it takes just to get just to the CPU, and not to mention how small the motherboard is. So we'll be back. All right, so update. So check it out. On the back, over 22 screws all the way around that you have to remove. CD-ROM drive, hard drive, covers, all that stuff. And I'm sure this other stuff's going to need to eventually come out, but we'll get to that in a second. Even the handle comes out. Over here, screws up on the top, the cover pries off, and then the keyboard, this is what's hilarious. The keyboard is held on by adhesives. That's right, adhesive, which by pulling them off, I'm pretty sure they're might not be too usable on that, which is kind of horrible, because it's like they really don't want you to take this thing apart. Why not use screws, you know, like everybody else does? But I digress, and that's besides the point. So that's where we're at. Also, 2 screws over here, and then you could disconnect that. So we're not even like halfway done. Maybe just a third at best. Not even, probably a quarter. Yeah, definitely a quarter on that one. So yep, that's where we're at. So let's keep on moving. All right, so yep, still not done. So the display comes out, everything on the top comes out, everything just gets disconnected. You can see my pile of parts and screws over here. So yeah, and I still got all these shields and all this other stuff to come out just so I can freaking get to the cooler and put fresh thermal paste on it. Yeah, and you would think, oh yeah, just take this out and this comes right out. No, it all has to come out. And then you have the fun part of trying to figure out how to put it back together. So yeah, that should be fun. I did break my little CMOS battery over here, so I am gonna have to order one. Great, but that should be about it. So when I come back, this should be completely taken apart, and then we'll fix the problem. So I want to share the worst design award goes to Panasonic, because if you look at it, this is the motherboard. This is what we need to work on and change. But check this out. The screws are underneath. So even though I took off all this metal shield, I still have to take out all these ribbons, all this molded plastic, and then I could take this board out just to get to the screws, just to change the thermal paste. So yeah, I'm not even quite done yet. So I just wanted to share that real quick. Thanks, Panasonic. All right, 5,762.7 hours later, and we have our prize. And this is it. That's all it's thinking is. It's just this. Comes out of this big heavy-duty case. And that's it is. All that. I mean, you literally have to rip this whole thing apart just to get to it. Just so you could take this thing apart and change the thermal paste. Because that's the issue with it. I've actually done this once, twice, one time, 2 times. I've done it a bunch. And yeah. As soon as you change the thermal paste and, man, I gotta figure out all this paper. But as soon as you change all the thermal paste and everything, the temperatures literally drop drastically. And it's not that it was bad thermal paste that was used, it's just the excessive heat, dust conditions, all that stuff. And then typically I just kind of give this fan a little service, lube it up, and should be good to go. So unfortunately we did have one catastrophe, which is this battery. So I am going to have to order another one, so which means this project just got delayed another 62 days. Alright, and as you can see, our thermal paste or whatever they use, I mean, this thing is like solidified crust. I mean, there's just nothing there. I may have to scrape this thing off. I think it was a pad they use. Even if it was a pad, I mean, this thing is like crystallized. So that's our overheating issue. Yeah, they use paste because this is a pad, and the pad still feels pretty good and viable, so I'm not going to mess with the pad. But this is just... yeah, this is just done. So that's our overheating issue. So let's go ahead, let's put this back together, and then wait a couple of days until I get the battery. So okay, so it's a day later, and our battery came in. So it should be the same one. I just matched up the part number, got it on Amazon. It only cost like a couple of dollars. Rome Tech. So that's your part from them, RT CMOS 05. I believe it's a 2032, just kind of migrated into this little connector over here. I guess this kind of turns into a CMOS battery change video. So it's on the back right over here. And well, we just put in this connector. It should only go in one way. And then from over here, it has double-sided tape, which is really nice because now I don't have to deal with that headache. Just kind of peel this off a little bit. See if I can get you guys right in. Right down there, this little circle right over here is exactly where this battery is going to adhere to. So we could just kind of pop it right there. And we're done with our CMOS battery. So I'm done with this part. I'm going to go ahead and put this thing back together. I'm not going to bore you guys with the long reassembly, disassembly. Like I said, this is probably the most aggravating laptop to take apart because it literally, I mean, you have to explode and blow this thing up just to take it apart. So we'll put it back together. We'll see if we got the issue with the thermal throttling and the overheating addressed. And then I'll talk about the other issue, which is actually a really easy fix, just more of a software thing or kind of a cheat in a way to fix it. So let me do that. And when we be back, she should be back together in 3, 2. If you guys haven't noticed, and if you're taking a look at this laptop, number one, it's been put back together. And number two, it looks a little different. And we're going to talk about it. It's been 2 weeks since I bought the Cf-53, took it apart, realized I broke the battery on it, had a bad overheating issue. And then the other issue that I did have with it was that after putting it back together, it was still overheating. My temperatures were hitting just like in the 90s on idle, and it was quite horrible. The laptop ran, and surprisingly it didn't downclock itself, but it would just constantly stay in the 90s. So I redid the thermal paste on it, took it apart, changed the thermal pad on it, did that. Even the fan was just kind of making a weird roaring noise. So I think I had ordered a bad one from eBay. Although I did pay $60 for it, I just didn't get a good one. Reached out to the seller, and the seller and I informed him exactly what I did. Hey, I took it apart. This is what's going on. Kept overheating, yada, yada, yada. Went through this steps, blah, blah, blah. And he offered to send me another one. He said, just send me that one back, and I'll send you this one. I said, okay. So he sent me this one, and of course took it apart, which is still a Cf-53. Took it completely apart, the same thing, just everything is done exactly the same. Changed the thermal paste on it, put a new thermal pad on it, and our temperatures are amazing. So when I got this one, I turned it on, my temperatures were also sitting in the 80s on it, and now my temperatures are, for a laptop, in the 40s. Occasionally it'll spike up to 56, but this is just sitting idle, so my temperatures have dropped by half. What happened? Well, I don't know what was wrong with that other laptop. There could have been a short, there could have been some type of damage or anything like that. I have known from my experiences that certain shorts and certain parts of power delivery and stuff like that can create an issue of constant overvolting. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't really look at the voltages or anything, but I have seen that happen, that shorts on the boards can cause these things just to run ridiculously hot, if not catch fire. So yeah, definitely something to consider. So this is the Cf-53, and actually I kind of lucked out in this because the seller sent me a upgraded model, and this model actually has the backlit keyboard on it, which is pretty nice on it. And instead of this being an i5 2nd gen, this is actually an i5 4th gen, which is a lot cooler and definitely worth more bang for the buck. So considering I paid $60 for an i5 2nd gen and I wound up with a 4th gen with a backlit keyboard, I think I did pretty well on that. Seller was awesome, and I'm definitely glad that he was able to do it. And the thing was, I was honest with him. I told him straight up, hey, I opened this up, I did this, blah, blah, blah. And he could have told me, well, you opened it up, you fried it, it's your problem. No, he said, hey, I got you. So pretty cool on that. So let's recap on this laptop. Number one, these things are ridiculously expensive. They're going for about $200 to $300 used. Most of the time when you get them, they are going to have that overheating issue, because as you saw earlier, our thermal paste just kind of crystallizes on it and just becomes absolutely useless. They're covered in junk and gunk. They've been used and abused, and they are just, yeah. When you get it, to get it to, I guess, a standard that is either sellable or usable, you're going to have to do a lot of work. And if you're not comfortable in just going that deep and heavy into taking these laptops apart, then this might be the laptop to walk away from. Now, initially, these things cost, like I said, $2,500 to $3,000. Actually, this was the $3,000 variant with the i5 4th gen and the backlit keyboards. And then, like, if you wanted to get a web camera, that cost $350 to upgrade this over here. And it got really ridiculously expensive. So what are the purpose of this laptop? Number one, construction workers, law enforcement, fire, EMS. Great value, great durability for what they do. But as far as the consumer like you and I, just looking for something to go to the old Starbucks or the old whatever coffee shop you go to sit down, that was way too much money back then. And even then, getting one of these and trying to flip them, it's a lot of work. And honestly, if you're just going to put a SSD in it, put in Windows and sell it to somebody, you really don't have a good conscience selling this thing as is without really taking it apart and addressing the heating issue. So real quick, before I end this video, I do want to talk about the second issue that I did mention. Fortunately, this one doesn't have this issue, and that's a good thing. The other one did have this issue, but it's fine. So when you get these, and this goes for, like, I would say almost all touchscreens, people just tend to be a little aggressive with the touchscreen. They just start slamming and banging on these things, and they tend to mess up the whole touchscreen device on it. So typically what I do with this, and I've seen people throw away countless laptops for it, and I've actually flipped laptops just disclosing that the touchscreen does not work on it. What I typically do is I go to control panel, we go to, not here, you go to your system, and the whole point is that you want to get to device manager, and you could type device manager in the search. Now typically, and this laptop's not fully set up yet, but I do know it works, is that under mice and other pointing devices over here, you're going to look for the one that says something related to touchscreen. It's going to be a pain in the butt, and you're going to have to use a whole bunch of tabs and a whole bunch of tabbing around just to kind of get to it. But when you get to it, you would click it, you would go to the driver, and you would disable the device. By disabling that device, that fixes all the issue. The laptop is usable, the screen is still fine, and you're good to go. And you can invest later in getting a new screen, which is about what, $100, $200, or you could just live with the fact that you don't have that feature anymore. That is a common issue with these Toughbooks that I have seen, more so with these. Older laptops don't have these. Newer laptops, I haven't run into it too much, but then again, it depends on how practical the person is just using it, just like slamming their finger on it. So something to consider. And to wrap this up, this laptop, way overpriced for what it's going for now. You take a huge gamble between the screen and the overheating issue and your level of expertise as far as dissecting it. And honestly, I mean, i5 second gen, if you get the second gen variants for $60, they're really not worth much besides just browsing the whole internet. But if you're able to get lucky and get the i5 fourth gen for a decent price, they actually make for a good office, everyday laptop, in my opinion on it. So hope you guys liked this video. Hope it was informative. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of this Panasonic Cf-53. My recommendation, stay away from it unless you find it for a good price and you're feeling brave and experimental. If you like this video, definitely hit the like button. Subscribe if you're not. And as always, we'll see what we come up with next.